So, you know, when something may happen in your life and it seems like a profound thing where, okay, I've discovered something that's going on and I've gotten to the root cause of it and it's done with and I've finished and it's like this big hurdle that I've jumped over. That's what happened to me in 2021, where I got sicker than I'd ever been with mold illness, bedridden, living in a moldy house that at the time I didn't really have much choice about, and until eventually I sold it and then I moved out, realizing there was no other way. So I discovered that my health, which I had been dealing with some ups and downs, or I should just say a lot of downs, with chronic Lyme disease and mold toxicity for a long time, for years, before I discovered, okay, these colonics that I started doing on a raw food retreat and this raw food cleanse totally turned things around for me. And I realized that I didn't have to be radical and stay with the raw food 100%. But I also realized that there were things that would happen that would bring me down. You know, sometimes I'd eat certain foods and I'm like, okay, the symptoms are coming again. But I could live with that, and I was able to keep things pretty much under control. I decided after about 2 years to do another parasite cleanse, and it brought out a lot of die-off and a lot of symptoms that I thought I was all done with. For anybody who's dealt with chronic illness like Lyme, for example, you know something called a Herxheimer reaction. It's basically when you have die-off of like the bad bacteria and different things that causes you to have symptoms again. And so it felt like things were just okay, like things were manageable. And then I realized I have way more parasites still and way more work to do. And it can get easy to feel comfortable, I think, when you've had so much success and health after a long period of not having that, and get really excited about the power of food to heal and turn things around. And then this comes, it hits me like a train, and it's been kind of crazy. It's what I've been doing has worked. Had a lot of die-off with the parasites, but there are the symptoms. There's all the stuff that comes with having parasites, and it doesn't even look really like there's any end in sight right now. I have a lot more work to do, and I know that there is. I know that it's going to be okay. I know that I'm going to be okay. I have that because I work with people with their gut health. I've been kind of afraid to talk about what's really going on, but this is an opportunity for me to let you know, to remind you and to remind myself, it's not like a one and done thing. Like, oh, I fixed, sometimes people come in for colonics and they think, I'm going to have one colonic. They don't even ask me. They just say, okay, I'm going to do this one colonic and I'm done. And they think for life, after decades and decades, a whole lifetime of eating garbage food, which a lot of us have done, myself included. I was on a good diet. I was a vegetarian. I was brought up with really good diet, but I wound up eating a lot of crap in my life. It was vegetarian, it was vegan, but it didn't mean that it was good. And some of it was processed vegan food, whatever it was. And that's not the only thing. There's a lot of things that happen in our lives that get us to a point. So if we're at a point where we have an illness or something coming out, it's not going to be like, I'm going to take one colonic and some herbs, and maybe I'm going to do a cleanse and then everything's all better. That isn't the way it works. It's a lifelong process. So for me, I know that I'm going to have to do cleanses from time to time for parasites. Maybe at some point the food will be enough, but it hasn't been long enough for me. It's only been 3 years now since I became vegan. I was a vegetarian for a lifetime, and I had a much better diet than a lot of my friends who were eating like Wonder Bread and like American cheese and whatever other stuff, like Twinkies, all that, which I wasn't allowed to have any of that. And I still had plenty of it anyway, like when I wasn't at home. So I'm not saying I didn't, but for the most part, I had a good diet. But it's not good enough. It wasn't good enough. I definitely, whatever caused me to have the illness, I still don't know, and I probably never will know. But here I am now, and I'm glad to be aware. It's really important to be aware that it's not a one and done thing, like I said. It's a process. It's like, I tell people, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. There are days when I feel like what am I even doing all this for? Like, it's not even really leading anywhere. But then I wake up again and I feel refreshed again, and I'm able to keep working at it. And when you have a parasite infection like I do, it's something you have to keep on tackling. One of the things that's been immensely helpful for me is Rogers Hood. And I'm not doing this to sell a product. I just want to tell you that it's a kit with 3 different tinctures for candida, parasites, and that's paired with my special diet. I wouldn't say that anybody who took these tinctures would just come in and magically it's going to make it go away. Of course, I'm sure it would help no matter what, but you also have to pay attention to diet. That's so important. And you can always write to me if you're dealing with parasites and you want some help. I also have a code for that. It's clean 10. So if you do decide to go on the Rogers Hood site and get some of those herbs, clean 10 will give you 10% off. I do get a small commission for that. And like I said, this is not an ad, but I want you to know that it worked. It worked like amazingly beyond anything I ever could have expected. Dozens and dozens and dozens of parasites were killed when I was taking those herbs. I actually had to stop. I did it for 30 days. I wanted to go for 40 because I was having so much lower back pain from the die-off. It has to do with waste in the colon. You know, the parasites actually die. They need to be released. And so when we've had, it's a lot to explain, but we've got a lot of buildup and we need to, you can't get it out as quickly as the die-off is happening. Even with all the colonics I was doing, sometimes it can be an issue. So I had to slow things down, diet-wise, and then also just stopping the herbs. I'm happy to talk more about my experience, and I will post more about it because it's come to the forefront again for me. For a long time, I thought it was, like I said, that it was gone, and I really, I feel like I really need to share with you because I don't want to keep pretending like everything's all perfect and not perfect, but like well balanced and all that. It is, I've come so far, but there are still those parasites to deal with, and I'm going to share with you what is working for me so that if you also are dealing with parasites, you'll get some ideas to give yourself some relief and to turn around your situation. Feel free to share in the comments if that's something that you have ever dealt with before or you're dealing with it now, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm actually planning at some point to do a Q&A on YouTube so that I can, I'll gather up all the questions because I get a lot of questions all the time from people about gut health. I am a colon hydrotherapist and gut health coach, and so of course people are inquiring about all this kind of stuff, and I'm always happy to talk about it. And that's it for now.